This episode of the Cult and Culture Podcast is presented by Thunder Road Guitars.
Thunder Road Guitars is the Pacific Northwest's best source of premium, new, used, and vintage guitars, amplifiers, and pedals.
Online or in their Seattle and Portland shops, you'll find fantastic customer service and a terrific vibe.
Real people offering real service. Use code CULTCULTURE10 to get 10% off at www.thunderroadguitars.com.
DistroKid now also has a motherfucking app.
The DistroKid app is available for iOS and Android.
You can now get an additional 30% off if you go to distrokid.com/VIP/cult. That's distrokid.com/VIP/cult.
Or you can get it in the App Store.
The new gold standard of audio repair, Isotope RX11, is coming in May. In the meantime, you can buy RX10 now on sale and get RX11 absolutely free when it's released. Cult and Culture listeners get 10% off by using the code FRET10, FRET10, that's code FRET10 at isotope.com, IZOTOPE.com.
Fuck. All right, we're rolling.
Planet B.
Present.
Cult and Culture Podcast.
Welcome to episode 40 of the Cult and Culture Podcast. I'm Justin Pearson.
And I'm Luke Hinshaw.
This episode features Joe Plummer. It's kind of wild how everything worked out with this guy's, or getting into this guy's, like, peripheral vision, I suppose. He has a lot of strange ties to San Diego music, which is, I think, the main reason why him and I started talking. He had me on his podcast, Tour Stories, which was awesome. But he's mainly known for playing in Modest Mouse. And he's currently in Cold War Kids. He's played in a bunch of bands, and he's done some crazy shit. We'll get into it in the podcast where he did this 3-drummer thing, which I can't get over that. I don't even know how that wasn't even on our radar. But man, he's such an awesome dude, and it was so cool and so much fun. And also, too, like, shout out to Tour Stories. His podcast is part of Ruinous Media, which is also what we are part of. So it's cool to have this sort of cross-pollination of stuff. But he's just an awesome dude, and it was such a great conversation talking to someone that I feel like maybe musically might not be in the same realm of what we do, but he gets it, and vice versa. I don't know. We got into some kind of unique topics, and I'm really grateful that we were able to do that with him. It was cool.
Yeah. This podcast definitely flew by. Before it was such good, really meeting him and just getting to know him was fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, check it out, and if you get a chance, I would say check out Joe Plummer's work and dive into all the things that he's been part of, because it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So here we go.
I'm Joe Plummer. I'm a drummer. I've played in lots of bands over the years, some from San Diego. Well, one, Black Heart.
Yeah.
I play with Cold War Kids now. I played with the Shins and Modest Mouse, both for about 8 years, I think. And I have a band called Mr. Heavenly. Play drums in all these bands. But maybe my favorite thing is the drum record I made with Dale Crover and Cody. It's called Hue Time.
Crazy shit.
Yeah. That was like a dream come true to be able to pull that off.
I mean, those two guys are so rad and weird in a great way.
Yeah.
You know, but Cody is just unbelievable.
I know.
He's like a national, what's it called? National Treasure, yeah.
He is. God, he's busy too right now.
I know.
He's filling in for Dale.
It's all drums. The album.
Yeah, it's all drums.
Oh.
Yeah, it's there's this record. Oh God, I'm forgetting the name right now. It's a record called Boom, and it's an all drum record. Why am I forgetting one of my favorite drummers' names? I can't remember.
It happens.
Max Roach. It's a Max Roach record. It was inspired by a Max Roach record called Boom, apostrophe boom, and I just was playing with it, just in my ears and kind of playing with it, and I was like, I think I could cover this record. And I don't have jazz chops or anything, but I was just like, I think I can just interpret it and cover it. So I wrote like 5 pieces with drum kit and just added percussion, just kind of demoed it. And then I was like, I'm going to do this whole record. And so I just listened to it, and it went way far. It's way far from the Boom record. But
so it's not like a cover of that.
No, it's not. But that's how it started. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
So then I had these big pieces, and then I went down to L.A. and we let her rip.
So it's only because
it's only drums and percussion.
Yeah. Well, because like Dave Lombardo just did his solo record, and it's fucking rad.
It's so good.
But there's like atmospheric stuff happening, you know, and which I think is great. I think Zach Hill did one too. I love all. I mean, drums are just the best. Drummers and drumming. Drumming's the best.
Thanks.
Well, in Planet B we have 2 drummers. I
know.
Like, we need drums. Like, you know, fucking drums are the. I wish I was a drummer.
Yeah, I gotta see you guys with 2 drums.
It's getting better. Yeah, we don't play that much, but yeah. But so that's pretty wild. That's crazy that it's your favorite thing.
It really is.
Yeah, I can see why.
I mean, also another one of my favorite things. I mean, everything I feel pretty fucking like I won the lottery playing with all these bands and still doing it. But I made this record with Justin Trosper and Brant Sandino called it was their second record, a Replicants record. And that was like the experience of making that record and the way it ultimately sounds was another one of my favorite things.
That's rad. God, I have so many questions for you on so many different levels. Well, for one, the drum record that you did with Dale and Cody, did you ever do it live?
No.
That would be so
I
great.
really want to.
Well, there was this.
Take like 4 drummers, maybe. I mean, it would take more, 8 would be wonderful. But.
So we have to talk about the '88 thing too. But so when I was in the Locust, we toured with Phantomos and the Trevor Dunn Convalescent Trio or something.
Right.
And we had Chet. I think his name was Chet Smith on drums. But for whatever reason, Chet and Gabe and Dave did like these like kind of like drum battles, I guess, you know, where like one would solo, one would solo, and then they'd all like rip together and then it'd stop, and then it changed everything, seeing how the different players would work around each other and shine in different ways. And then one night the Locust dropped off because it was a Clear Channel show. We weren't playing Clear Channel venues, so Hella played, and so Zach Hill stepped in.
Oh my God!
And it was really funny because I don't think Dave knew who Zach was necessarily, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do this thing, and Zach's like, okay, cool, you know, and very humble, and so they did the thing where they each did their solo, and then they all kind of crescendoed into one big piece, and then Dave signaled them to stop, and I don't think Zach was being arrogant, but he just didn't stop, and it was like he was just in the zone, and it was crazy because I remember like kind of being like right behind where he was playing, and his cymbal flew off, his fucking shoe flew out, and he was steaming, his seat was gone, like, you know, you're just like, dude, this is like ungodly, unheard of, like I don't know, it was just like fucked up stuff, and so I always like tripped out on like how people would do that kind of stuff live. Like if you guys did that record live, I would be so psyched to see that.
I really want to do it. I want to do it at I was just thinking about this like a few months ago, that Big Ears Festival.
I don't know.
It's in Kentucky, and it's kind of like a more experimental music festival. It's really seems pretty great, and I think it would be appropriate there.
I mean, you did the '88 thing, so I mean that is crazy. I have a lot of friends that partook in some. There's like is it 77, 88, 66? I don't know.
Yeah.
What is it?
It was I from the Boredoms, like, right? He organized it and got. It was like on a certain date, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain it? Because I don't know if I would.
If I can remember it, it was I, someone else from the Boredoms too. And there were 88. I did the one in L.A.
Okay.
which was 88, and it was the concept. I don't think I could explain very well, but it was 88 drummers out in the open.
Yeah.
And we were kind of just we started out with just one drummer, and then as we went down the chain, the next drummer would play next to the next drummer, and then eventually everyone was playing together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we reversed it or something like that, and then all played together. There was a bunch of whistling and kind of conducting and stuff. But I mean, I was sitting next to Sarah Lund, which was fun.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. She's an old friend of mine. But yeah, it was. I mean, I wish I could remember it better, but yeah. I mean, remember the experience, but the concept, I can't.
Every time it happened, I remember I was always on tour, and I always thought like I would always say like, why isn't Gabe doing this? And he was usually on tour too, or whatever. So, but all my favorite drummers and friends that drum were like part of it at some point, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah,
one of the coolest things.
Yeah, I don't know why they aren't doing it again. Or something like that.
What would be the next? It's coincide with the date, right?
Yeah.
So what's the next? Is there a 99? I don't know. I don't know.
I know.
We should have like. I should have researched this. Google something. Yeah. So, I think it's pretty fascinating. All these things that you've done, and so it's really amusing to me. And I mean this in a loving way. Like you're here with Cold War Kids, and I feel like it is like from the stuff I do, it's like it's pretty. Far cry from in musical terms.
Yeah.
But it seems very similar. I hope this doesn't offend you, but it seems very similar to like Modest Mouse realm of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think about how like you did stuff with Paul Jenkins and a lot of people that I perceive as like, and I say this in a loving way, like weirdos. Like Paul's fucking weird.
Yeah.
But like I love him, and I'm glad he's weird. I don't want him to not be weird.
Right.
But he's weird, and his music is beautiful, and I don't know if it translates as like weird. Like you hear the things that we do, and you're like, that shit's fucking bizarre.
Sure.
And you just write it off as weird.
Yeah.
So it's So I think when we had when I was on your podcast, we had this little bit of a conversation where I was talking about like this sort of like DNA of Southern California or maybe San Diego.
Yeah.
And I think that Paul has it. Because I remember when I first met Paul, he was in 3 Mile Pilot, and he was trying to organize a tour with my first band, Struggle, which was like metalcore. And I was like, this sounds like a terrible idea. We should totally do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, but then it was funny because we started.
Is that how you met Toby?
I met Toby through high school. We went to high school together. Yeah.
Right.
So Toby was in Black Heart and he was in Struggle.
Yeah.
I love that guy, and I think he was embarrassed of Struggle after a while, but he's cool as fuck and also super weird. And like, I mean, it was really weird working with him because we were like, like kind of metal, and he was like Joe Satriani, like
he's
like all this wild ass shit.
Real
I
tech
haven't heard that
guitar.
name in a while.
Yeah, it was funny because like he could do stuff that was just out of any of our musical range, and then we were like, no, do this like dumb power chord chugga palm muting metal thing, and he's just like, all right,
I know. He has incredible technique. He also has incredible rhythm. Timing. Yeah, he's such a good, like, we would write tunes together, just piano and drums, or work on stuff, and it was like, God, his timing was it was so perfect, like. Kind of like, from what I know of people who've played with Elliott Smith, it's like just behind the beat.
Yeah,
like
he has like a physical. You can see his body moving. Like, you can like when I would watch him play, or when I would play with him when I was pretty naively playing music, I noticed it then, and then later on when I would see him perform with Black Heart and stuff, I would see his body. It was just he was like in it. It was really cool to see that.
Yeah.
I don't know like. If I see that with many people, but it was very apparent. But I also too, like your span of stuff made more sense too when you told me you played in Positive Greed.
Yeah,
which
and
is
that's
like,
how I first heard Struggle. Yeah.
Which is crazy, but I unfortunately think you were not in the band when we played together.
No.
But
I would have remembered it. I think we mentioned it was like the sort of like welcome to Positive Greed. Here's your Struggle 7. I told them all that.
They were
weeks ago,
such a great band of that time, and it was just, and so when you said that, I was just like, this makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like you're, because I always trip out when you meet someone that's like in a successful band, like like the people in Cold War Kids, and you'd see them like from the outside, and you think like, oh, they're probably just into like regular, like normal, not
Sure.
like fucked up stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh wait, they're into fucked up shit too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I really appreciate that when you get to discover it. And then also I think that maybe I should give everybody more credit, because I think that people are really into
Yeah.
weird stuff.
Yeah, and I think of myself, I guess, I never really think about myself as like this chameleon type. But I do know that I like to work. I like playing drums. I like writing songs with people. But there is stuff I won't do, But
Like what?
Well, I don't know. But I've said no to stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But
What have you said
I
no
still
to?
always
Can we
have,
talk
like,
about that?
Well, I can't think of any. I mean, probably just people reaching out to me to play drums on their record, which I'll go pretty far, but some of it I'm just like, I can't get behind. I just don't like that music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The musical.
And it's not anyone.
Are you honest with that, or are you like, oh,
Pretty-
I'm busy?
No, I'm pretty honest with it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You say
I
don't-
mean,
yeah.
I'll just say, yeah, I have what is my thing? It's a version of it's not for me. I have a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe say something like, I don't think I can do this justice.
Right. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Thanks. I might
It
do
is
that.
better to shit on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that, than to be like, your guys' stuff sucks.
Yeah, and it's also, if your heart's not in it, you're basically saying that same thing anyways.
Yeah.
And yeah. But as I'm saying this, it's like I also I have played on some not known but like super poppy stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like just super slick poppy stuff, and I like doing that.
Yeah.
Just because it's especially more extreme and like pop, just straight pop, like producers and Nashville people and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I like it for the experience.
Of course. That's the thing too, where like we always bring this up with like Gabe talking about, like, people would say, what kind of hardcore bands do you listen to? And he goes, I don't listen to hardcore, I just play it. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good when someone can play this or that or this or whatever, and then take away those things,
Right.
and make something new out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's rad.
Yeah.
I feel like all the people that you have played with, I mean, that I know, are on that tip.
I think so. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
You can see it. There's a little, I mean, maybe on the outside it looks accessible, but there's like the little nuances of things that are sprinkled in there that
Right.
you're like, oh, they're into weird shit.
Yeah. There's a tune we're playing right now called Mexican Dogs, a Cold War song, and we step out, get lost, like really lost.
What do you mean? Like jammy?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We had to reel it back in a few weeks ago.
because you stepped out too far.
Someone did.
Was it you?
I don't know. Someone did though.
That's one thing I don't think. I mean, we kind of jammed out. Like, there's some Planet B stuff where we jam out, but
Yeah.
it's like, I'm usually like the vocalist. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Yeah.
There's like effects or
Yeah,
something.
Oh, when
yeah.
we're doing the intros, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's to like shock and bring them in, not just like get in.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to like, we're feeling this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Get in the zone.
I think the freak out's already present with your
Oh yeah.
You
the
know,
freak out is on.
it's
11,
like it's
for
already
sure.
there.
Yeah.
It's printed on the on the record versus maybe a performance thing.
Yeah. Man, so there's so many. So what? Okay, so then, but you do the podcast. What started that? I mean, 'cause it's
Well, I mean, the real funny inspiration for it is there's this. Do you remember when the Melvins made their solo records and they look like the Kiss
yeah,
guys?
of course.
Have you heard the Buzz one?
Yeah.
You know the song that's just a riff with Dave Grohl telling a story over it? Do you remember that? It's
yeah.
really funny and Dave.
I didn't know that was Dave Grohl talking.
It's Dave
though.
Grohl.
Okay.
It starts with "So we're in Amsterdam."
Yeah. What
That's
the
him
Fuck?
telling a Nirvana story.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And I just always thought it was like really fun. It was great and really funny. And that kind of made me start thinking about, or it just kind of kept coming back in my life. And I was like,
Oh.
I'm on tour all the time. I've been doing this forever. There's some funny tour stories. So I just started recording my own, and then
and like publishing them.
No, I just was recording them and seeing, and that was right about when Ruinous was starting, and we were starting to maybe music licensing and a couple other like audio services. It
Ruinous.
wasn't as much, it wasn't as much podcasting, or the idea wasn't even there yet. And then I was like, well, I want to do this podcast, and so me and Chris and Pat were just like, let's figure out how to do a podcast.
Whoa, that's crazy.
And then,
so you're responsible for all that, essentially.
kind of. I mean, we were all game. Like,
Yeah.
we would be meeting every Tuesday at 8 p.m. and just like too much brainstorming and trying to get concrete things like the licensing done. And we had some audio work. And then it's like, well, we need other things to do. So Pat kind of digs in and is like, how do you make a podcast?
Yeah.
And then me and Chris started recording them.
That's really crazy.
Around what year was this?
I think it was 7 years. It was pre-pandemic. So
The pandemic
it was probably
makes everything seem
17.
so weird.
I know.
I know.
It's like, what?
It's like this stop in time.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
BC, AD.
I feel like it might have been 2017.
Okay.
I think.
Which is that doesn't seem that
Or
long
18.
ago, but it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we actually were, kind of all hands on deck making our podcast and figuring out how to publish it and all that stuff. And then an opportunity came from a corporation, and and Pat worked at he worked at like a video agency, and they worked with this corporation, and they just hit up his agency and were like, do you guys know what a podcast is? We want to make one. And Pat just overheard it, and he just was like, we can make one. So we just started making corporate podcasts.
Which is what?
Microsoft, like research podcasts.
Wow.
That's what we do still, actually, a little bit.
Oh. Wait a minute. So like
And we can't, our face isn't on it, or,
So,
obviously.
but what do you do? Like, you guys talk about the thing, the Microsoft.
Yeah, well, we don't produce it. We just edit. We just service it. So
Oh.
we get the audio. We usually are in charge of the music.
Oh,
and
cool.
then we put it together
Oh.
and keeps the lights on. And it's kind of fun sometimes because it's just, like when we're working on everyone's podcast a little bit or a lot, and everything has one foot in music. And sometimes it's like, it's a little messier than a corporate podcast. So every once in a while it's like refreshing just to be like, person concisely speaking to another person.
Oh, yeah.
And then we cut it and it's done,
But that also might be like,
It's good for the
okay, so
chops, though.
Ruinous might also be like, sort of like your musical resume, I guess. Like there's
Sure.
the Positive Greed, and then there's the Cold War Kids.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you got, not that the Cold War Kids, because that would make you guys like the the corporation. But you know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
spectrum of
Yeah, I know what you mean.
stuff.
Yeah, so I mean that's we do that, and so that's where it started. And then I forget, we had another kind of touring podcast early on, and we were cutting that, and they kind of fell off. Bass player Mudhoney approached us about a podcast because he's a nurse.
Whoa.
He still is. He moved back to Australia, but have you ever heard that? I think it's called COVID. It's called COVID Diaries.
Oh.
And he was put in charge of. He's an ER nurse.
Yeah.
At like the, what is it? I think it's Trauma One. It's
Yeah.
like the city hospital.
Yeah.
It's where the gnarliest hospital in Seattle. And as soon as it started, and it's great podcast. But he tells it from the beginning, like no one knew what it was, obviously.
Yeah.
And then all of us, very quickly, he was in charge of it, and he wrote a diary on it.
Wait, so I've heard of that, but I did not know he was in Mudhoney, which is
bass
also
player Mudhoney. He's
weird.
been an ER nurse for like 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was like the second one, and then,
Which probably was. There's a lot of elements why it would be very successful.
Yeah.
Why it would
Especially
be
timing.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID, but then like, oh, he's also got the music element, which is helpful.
Yeah.
Wow. But so we are pretty lucky because we can travel around and meet people, and then that's good for guests on podcasts.
Yeah.
But you do like this check-in thing. Can you explain the two different kinds?
Yeah. Tour stories, started out, and I probably should have just changed it, but again, the pandemic, I just kind of freaked out, and I was like, well, I mean, I can get tour stories, but I kind of want to know what people are doing.
Yeah.
It seems more
the
interesting.
check-in, yeah.
So I just didn't split the two.
Yeah.
And then friends or publicists or record labels of people I know started like going, hey, here's a new record. So it turned into a little bit of like it's a check-in and it's a little bit of promo for a record.
That's cool.
But I just don't do the normal review promo thing.
Yeah.
I kind of have a cadence. So, and I still do them separately, or I still do them together, but that's the difference. The check-ins just turning into a bit of promo, and tour stories is still tour stories.
But you've managed to kind of weave them in.
Yeah, and I just didn't change the name. And it kind of fucks with people because they're like, some people I don't know, they're like, I don't have a fucking tour story. My publicist wants me to be on your show. And I'm like, don't worry about it. But sometimes they do.
I mean, when I was on your show, it was great because we covered an awesome tour stories, and then we talked about Planet B, and it was great. It seemed normal and rad. But let's bite on your own thing. But like, what would be? Can you give us a tour story? I mean, maybe a recent one that might be like jarring, or is everything pretty mundane at this juncture?
Let's see. That's a good point. Everything's a little bit mundane, but
I think that the older we get, at least for me, I'm like, let's just make it mundane. Like, I don't want to fucking do the thing.
I'm trying to think of one I haven't told before.
I'm sure you have a lot.
I have a lot. We all have a lot. Black Heart. Oh, I can tell this. I was talking about this yesterday. I wish my tour manager Gabe Kerbrat was here because he was telling
Gabe. Was he the tour manager of like
Murder
City
City
Devils? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Legendary.
He's our tour manager.
Oh, yeah, like the legendary Gabe tour manager. Okay.
Actually, today he's like, so you're gonna talk to JP?
Yeah.
And I was like, so anyways, we were at dinner last night. I wish Gabe was here. He has a really good tour story. And our Patty, our guitar tech, told a better one on the back of Gabe's, but they were together with this other band. And I tried to get him to record it today. Okay. But it led me to this story, which is not as titillating as Patty's of cutting his thumb wide open in Korea. No, just leave it pregnant like that.
Yeah.
Try to get him on the show. So I was going to Germany and with the Shins, and we had been in Europe a ton, and we flew into Frankfurt. We stayed at the same hotel we had been going to like through the summer. It was like the third time, so it was strange. It felt really familiar, but it was the beginning of the tour. We're at this hotel. It's in the middle of like a cornfield because we're playing a festival not too far away. And we get picked up super early in the morning by the bus, and we just get on the bus, and it's like, you guys should go to sleep. When, we're going to get to the festival at like 8 a.m., but we all have jet lag. Yeah. So we're like wide awake. Yeah. So we're like the first people on this pretty big festival grounds. Uh-huh. So we're just like fucking around and trying to figure out things to do and how to calibrate ourselves with food and sleep for the first show. And we start playing frisbee. Someone gives us a frisbee. And me and Yuki are just throwing it back and forth. And again, it's so early, we never get like breakfast at a festival, but it's usually for people that are working and crew people that are there early. And this guy goes, hey, I got something for you guys to do. You can eat breakfast. Yeah. Right? And we're like, that sounds fun. Yeah. So Yuki, he walks up to me, says that. Yuki tosses me the frisbee. I miss it. And I just walk over and I'm like, let's go to catering. And I pick it up and I just did something to my back and I couldn't stand up. I was bent over.
Whoa.
And it was fucking painful. Like I was like, oh, I can't move. Like I can't straighten. It was too painful. Yeah. So I walked fully bent over into catering and I was like kind of sweating it, like stressing, like this can't really be this
But you
severe.
have like probably 10 hours, right, until you have to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I go and sit in catering, and I like drink coffee and just like collect myself. I'm able to like sit, like, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like kind of stressing, and then I go to stand up, and it's worse. Like I felt like something broke or something.
Yeah.
And so 10 hours of stress and trying to just like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And I couldn't straighten out. Finally, I had Yuki and James bend me,
Whoa.
just like through the pain, and I just laid on the floor in the middle of the bus.
Yeah.
And I had a couple hours of that. I kind of passed out from the pain and probably exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then finally, our tour manager's like, dude, we got to go to the ER. And so we go to the ER, and on the way there, we're just kind of like, it's probably, this is socialized medicine. It's probably going to be fine. It won't be a hassle. We get there, and it's just like an American TV show ER. It's fucking chaos. And they're all like, we need your insurance. And it's like, what for?
Yeah.
And they really they won't let us in without proof of insurance. And they tassel us. And
Wow.
we leave without any pain relief. And I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I popped some ibuprofen or whatever I had. And then finally the medic tent sets up for the festival. And there happens to be a doctor there kind of overseeing it. And me and the tour manager explained it to him. He's like, I got the stuff. And we were just like, is it what? It's like, great. It's like, but I got to play. Like, it can't be any like heavy dopey stuff.
Yeah.
And he gave me this thing, and it was ibuprofen. It was a shot of this purple stuff. And he's like, they don't have this in the States. But he kept reassuring me, he's like, it's safe. And it had the word Ibu. He kept saying Ibu. But it was some miraculous drug. And, it didn't make the pain go away, but I was able to play the show.
Yeah.
And then we have 4 more shows in Germany, and I would get to the festival and go to the tent. And he wrote, and he had a little note for me.
Oh, yeah.
To pronounce it and show people.
Whoa.
And I remember at the third festival, the guy was like, how do you know about this? And he's like, back here, like,
whoa. It's like a secret.
But again, it wasn't like but it worked.
Do you know what it was? You acted like you knew what it was.
I've heard of it before, yeah.
And I brought one, most of the time it was liquid. But I did bring, this was years ago, so I don't have it, but I had like 2 tablets left over. Souvenirs.
Yeah.
Really.
Do you do anything? I mean, because obviously, like, my mom always says shit like, "What are you doing? You're not a spring chicken," And I'm like, "Yeah, fucking like you'll like I'll do dumbass shit, but then I'll go to pick up a fucking frisbee and then I'm screwed."
Too.
You're like, "Oh, that's dumb." I mean, what do you do do you do anything
to stay in shape?
I guess.
I do. Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but I play pickleball like crazy. In fact, I have tennis elbow.
Oh yeah.
I played a lot yesterday. We had a day off.
That's interesting.
I'm
That
wearing
is,
this
yeah.
thing. And I run and stuff.
Yeah. I had tennis elbow and golfer's elbow at the same time because I worked at a bar and I had to like wash dishes.
Yeah.
And so it was like the inner and the outer, and I had to record, and I remember it was just like so excruciating.
How'd you fix it?
Acupuncture and a lot of yoga. So mainly acupuncture though was the thing.
It was.
Yeah. They were triggering like the points that go to the thing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah, I've done it with my upper back. I did some acupuncture and it really worked.
Yeah, it's the jam. It's funny to like talk to, especially like in the sort of like punk world, because we're always like hyping up yoga, and people are like, and they just think it's like this like kind of like silly new agey thing. And like, no, dude, it like actually makes us able to function in this world,
right,
and in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Obviously the physical part, but also the mental. But what was I gonna say about? Why? But you still do pickleball, and you're like fucking your arm up, and you need that.
Yeah,
thing.
it's kind of dumb. I need a different paddle, I think.
That's all it is a paddle. Like,
I think so. I could get into the details of why it has weights on it.
Oh.
And it's just that much wait. Because I played with my other paddle a week ago and it didn't happen.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
That's like real nerd shit.
it is. It is.
Pickleball's like the tennis,
It's
right?
It's
but
like
in a
tennis and
smaller-
ping pong.
Yeah.
It's like a combo of those two things, but it's like a wiffle ball.
Mm-hmm.
a
They
smaller
play
court.
at when we walk to the liquor store
Uh-huh.
at the fire station. They're always playing.
Is it at the fire station?
Yeah, it's in their little back.
You want to go?
I want to go.
Want to go?
No, I can't today.
That's so
Gotta
funny.
play.
So you're like jonesing for it, huh?
I do.
That's really funny.
I'm really into it. It's like kind of like what skateboarding was
Sure.
for me.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're both like that with yoga, or he runs a lot. He has to
You
like
do?
run all the time.
Yeah.
I can't touch that shit. He'd be like, I ran 10 miles. I'm like, I fucking can barely walk 10 blocks. You know, I mean, I can, but
I run. I usually run every other day, but I don't run very far.
Yeah.
3 miles or something.
But a lot of drummers like it's weird because so many drummers that I know like don't keep it together. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you fucking do that when
Right.
you're not preparing? Like,
Yeah.
you know? It's really bizarre.
Yeah, I remember this one drummer we used to practice with. He used to run about 4 to 5 miles to band practice and then run home, and he was just fully energized.
Yeah.
That's how after I
Yeah.
run, I'm not tired. Like I'm,
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
at
it's
the
interesting.
point to where I can run, like say 8 miles, and I don't even feel like I ran. Like people,
Because
will
once you
call
like get
me
over
and
a
I'll
point,
be
right? Like
yeah.
once you hit a thing, you're like you can
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Not all
Johnny
the time.
Marr he got me into running
Oh.
more. I ran a little bit, but he got me into like a little more disciplined and distance and stuff. He runs like crazy.
Yeah.
He would accidentally, one time we had a day off in L.A., and he called me, and he was in an Uber, and he called me. He's like, Joe, I just accidentally ran 20 miles.
Oh, and you had to like.
He was
take
like,
an Uber back.
not even thinking, and I think he was like going to turn back. He's like, whoa, I can't fucking spend all that time getting back.
That's really crazy.
Yeah, it was really funny.
That's funny
I
too. that
remember
it's
I was
just
sitting in the
Johnny.
hotel when he called me that.
That's great.
So funny.
And he might be a bit older than us. I think,
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No one knows how old he is.
For reals?
I don't think so.
You could probably look at it up.
You could.
Yeah.
Someone could. Yeah.
That's really funny because my friend Nick Zenner, do you know Nick?
Mhm.
His Wikipedia has his wrong age, and he's so excited about it. you
Yeah.
know? I always joke because I say he's like 180. He's like a vampire. He looks like he's 12.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's funny. Also that Johnny Marr did that.
Yeah.
Out of all people.
I know.
What about Morrissey? I bet he could not. That motherfucker. He couldn't run.
Not
he couldn't.
now.
He couldn't. Yeah. Oh man.
Run his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Run his mouth. Running from people.
That's pretty interesting though too. Like you played with the dude. You know. That's
I know.
That's insane.
That was
yeah.
a special experience.
I just saw him on a documentary about Scott Walker.
Oh yeah.
I think he was in it. I might be wrong, but yeah, he's another person that's just in that weird realm of like, obscure. You know, like you
Yeah.
know, you're like, oh, you're on the level, and you do like the, I don't know, whatever. You know what I was saying before, like Paul Jenkins or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Johnny's that was real. I mean, it was a surprise, obviously, that he shows up in Portland and is all of a sudden playing with Modest Mouse.
You were already in the band when that happened.
Yeah.
I heard that and I was like, what is, like, how does that happen? You know, because
Isaac called him. He just straight up called him.
that is just bizarre.
It was really bizarre.
I mean, not the same thing, but I guess Dead Cross did that when, like,
Mm-hmm.
Gabe Serbian quit singing in Dead Cross, and then Dave Lombardo's like, I'm just gonna ask Mike Patton. And
Yeah.
I'm like, she's not gonna fucking do that. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, what? All right.
Crazy. Yeah.
But
It is similar.
Johnny Marr is like, it's just like that's almost. I mean, it's like up there with like asking, I don't know, like David Bowie or you know what I'm saying? Like you're just
Sure.
like, how did that happen? Like
Yeah.
you kind of like, not that there's like hierarchies or anything, but there's like these. I look at it like there's like these planes, and like he's like on a different plane, and you
Yeah.
just like went and brought him over to this other world. You know, like
Yeah.
it seems.
That's a good way to put it.
It seemed crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, what is up with your you worked at the La Jolla Museum. I'm saying it wrong. Or I don't know. Like you worked at you did like you scored a what is the thing you did at the like Museum of Art in La Jolla, right?
Oh, with Matt Hoyt.
I think that's what it is,
Years and
right?
years ago?
Yeah. What's up with that?
I think that was just. I think I just. Oh.
But
it
you
was
like
just
drummed for something, right?
live.
I don't know. What was that? Can you explain that?
I don't know.
You brought it up.
I don't know if I'm.
You brought it up when we were talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
like your San Diego connection, and then I think it's like it's also like on your Wikipedia. I think it says something about. You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I did something with Matt Hoyt. I scored one of his films.
That's pretty rad.
I helped him do that. That maybe was played. God, am I forgetting some sort of performance thing that I did?
It's on
La Jolla.
I can't look it up right now, but
Shoot.
I thought.
And we talked about it?
Yeah, you had like mentioned it to me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then so then I looked it up because I wasn't really fully understanding it, and apparently you aren't either. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll put it in post.
But that's cool that you know. I mean, that's cool you worked with Matt.
Yeah, we
rest
were
in
always doing.
peace.
Yeah, he was always doing something fun.
What was the film?
It was Antarctic. Huh?
Oh, that's what
ATV.
it says. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was presented at La Jolla, I think,
Ah.
museum. Well, I know it was.
Okay.
And he did a funny Q&A. I think he was in a green suit and painted green.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that was most of my music, or actually his music and my music together.
How'd that come together? How do you know him?
I used to just stay with him instead of I was in Black Heart for like 7 years. I mostly stayed with Matt or our friends down Phil and Yuko.
Oh yeah, Phil and Yuko.
So I rarely stayed with Paul and Toby or Paul.
Yeah.
So I just like hung with Matt
Yeah.
all the time.
He was like a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, my
man.
God.
Yeah.
Matt Hoyt Day. We have a Matt Hoyt Day in San Diego.
Which day is that? What
I
is
can't
it?
remember what day it is.
It's like a recognized
official.
thing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so crazy.
It was Memorial Day. The city councilman came and
Wow.
showed us the declaration, I guess it's called.
I mean, it's like, Dang. He works on the city council.
Oh no, I know who.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he like works on the city council because he's the one that got Drive Like Jehu to play the Balboa Park.
Oh, he did.
thing. Yeah.
With the organ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just like
Crazy.
another thing too, where you're like, we're crossing. It's like the like planes like crossing.
Yeah.
You know, like what's going on here? Like how is weird shit happening at that
Yeah.
venue?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like Casbah Day and stuff, which should exist, but it's like also just like how the fuck does this work in a this is a conservative city,
Sure.
military-ish, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Ish.
Racist-ish. Yeah. But I was thinking about this earlier today actually when I was like wondering about I was like, damn, you've been on tour forever since we spoke last, and then I was thinking about the parallels between San Diego and San Diego, or Seattle and San Diego, and how there are a lot of similarities, I think, in art, specifically music wise, because both cities have birthed some pretty unique things.
Sure.
Over time, obviously I think Seattle might have a bit more attention because of like grunge or whatever,
Yeah.
but even like that film It's Gonna Blow, I don't know if you've ever seen that. A filmmaker in San Diego, Bill Perrine, he made this documentary that was kind of I would not want to make a documentary because I think he was trying to approach it like San Diego was looked at as the next Seattle, and it kind of honed in on like the John Reese, Rock from the Crypt,
Sure.
Drive Like Jehu stuff. And it was so that made me really see the two parallels. I'm like, oh my gosh. And there's a lot of transplants, I think, from both cities, a lot and over the years or whatever. So it just kind of made a lot of sense, seeing the two cities, or acknowledging the two cities in that
Right,
or that
yeah.
way.
We used to look to San Diego. I mean, always. I was in a band called Bare Minimum for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Whoa.
both Mark and Brian were like Reese guitar
Yeah. Who wasn't?
freaks. Well, who isn't? He's like the best guitar player on the planet.
Yeah.
And then also we would look to Heroin, and then Second Story Window.
Mhm.
We were always down with, and we played with them. We toured with either VSS or
Oh yeah.
we toured with VSS a lot.
Yeah.
Or I'm forgetting the band before VSS.
Angel
Hair.
Yeah.
And we did a split. with
Split.
Angel
Yeah.
Hair.
Yeah.
So,
Whoa, that's
anyways, Sonny kept us connected too with all the San Diego stuff. If we weren't already,
Yeah.
it was interesting because we were in East. Those guys are from East Bay. They move up to Seattle. I was kind of from the East Bay, but all of our stuff sounded more like closer to noisier stuff from down here.
Yeah,
and
well,
we dressed the same. As
Everyone
Heroin.
thought that Angel Hair was from San Diego and they're
Yeah.
from Colorado.
Yeah.
Well, the dressing thing was interesting, but you know, it's funny when I was younger, that like my first kind of like glimpse into like, I hate using these terms, and I'm pretty sure that they probably wouldn't want me to say this either. But like when I was 15, you looked at like I'll just say like Pearl Jam. They were like rock stars or whatever, you know, but like anti rock stars, but like still like they were just like these massive people that were ever. And I had my first girlfriend at the time had like a Thanksgiving, and I went and Eddie Vedder was there, and it was like right when he was like becoming a big deal, and I was like, oh, that's the guy I think from the band.
And he had moved away from here.
I don't know what he
Or
was
maybe
doing.
it was back,
To this day I still don't even know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, it's a trip.
Yeah.
And then like shortly after that, Heroin released the Paper Bag 7-inch, the iconic record. I think started like the idea of DIY really, but he had talked about it, or like he had mentioned someone like Rolling Stone asked him like, what are your top 10 something records, and he just listed that Paper Bag 7-inch, and it was like in Rolling Stone, and I just like
crazy.
I just like couldn't believe like looking in Rolling Stone, like seeing Heroin. You know, I don't even know if it said Paper Bag 7-inch, but like whatever it was, I was just like, this is fucking crazy that like correlation happened. You know,
that is crazy. Paul, that's reminds me of Paul Jenkins. You know, when we were still doing Black Heart, when I was still in the band. He saw Eddie at some event down here, or maybe just a bar or something, like randomly.
Yeah.
And Eddie came up to him and said something like, I love your sad songs. I wish I could write as sad as songs as you. Like kind of joking, but it's like, fuck, you know Black Heart?
Yeah,
you know, like,
of course he does.
It's so rad. So rad. I mean, you know, it's just kind of fun.
But like giving John Reese the props of being like the best guitar player ever, like Paul is the best sad song writer ever. Like you just like whatever he does, it just tears your heart out. You know, musically, you're just like, Jesus, how did he do this? But Eddie Vedder is pretty cool. I think I don't really like Pearl Jam that a lot, but I think he's pretty rad. I got my wisdom teeth pulled, all 4 of them at once, and I was I had to play. This is before I sang in the Locust. I just played bass. It was like really early on, and we played a show at the Che Cafe, and he showed up, and everyone was like kind of razzing him, you know, and like get the fuck out of here, but
vibing him.
but I was like, what's up, man? Like, you know, I was like, I didn't say like I know who you are, but I was just trying to be like casual with them, but I was like fully loaded on Vicodin, and I was like, yo, you got any spare change? And he gave me $20, and I was like, holy shit, you know. And I was like 19. I was like, $20. It was like so funny. But he seems like on the level, you know, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I feel bad about I probably shouldn't say this, but I will because I don't have a filter. But Brett Garowitz from Epitaph had called me once, and we were just talking about random stuff. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna I got this weird thing. Like Brett probably doesn't want me even saying this, but I love that guy. But he was like, Pearl Jam wants me to release one of their albums on Anti, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's like winning the lottery, you know. It's like a fucking sure, that's so awesome. And they're kind of like the Fugazi of you know, rock or whatever.
Sure.
And he's like, yeah, but I just don't really like their music that much. And I was like, oh, but like it's Pearl Jam, you know, just you don't have to like it. Yeah, I mean, you like, I mean, for me, I like bands that I know and I love the people more than if I would have just been like, oh, I listen to their music. Like if I know them, I love them even more. And so I was like, well, there's that. Like you got like these players that are like just they were orchestrating things like non-musical things for the entire world of music, you know. And I was like, dude, you should fucking do it. And then he passed on it, and I was just like, oof, like.
And Eddie sang on a Bad Religion
That's crazy too.
Yeah, I remember being in high school and getting that record.
Of course, who would not want to do
just
that?
like his voice coming, and it was right when Pearl
I never
Jam
knew
was
that.
starting.
Yeah. But why? I mean, anybody would want to be on a Bad Religion record in the early '90s. You know,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I mean, he also did stuff with like Cat Power and and like that's even weirder too. Like Cat Power released a record or a record, and it has Eddie Vedder and Dave Grohl on it.
Yeah.
And it just says EV and DG,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow. What a way to, that's not on the press release, I guess, you know?
I know.
I love that though. I think that I think it just, there's like a moral and ethical thing that comes into probably all the stuff that like all of us do where we're conscious of that. And I think it's rad.
I mean, it's cheesy, but it's like heart and integrity. I think that's why we always wind up with each other, you know? You know, like I don't know. I think the circle sometimes it gets bigger, but maybe that's pompous to say that my peer group is, you know, heart-filled and, you know, with all the integrity, but I still feel like it is. Or at least, you know, you're in work ethic. It just seems like if you keep working, you wind up doing or being around similar people with that same, you know.
Or if you keep at it, the wrong people hit you up.
Yeah, but then you know what to you know what to do.
Sometimes, yeah. I told him about it. I got hit up to play in a band with this band on bass, and I was like, I can't, like, it's morally 100% not something I could do, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, fuck, that would be so sick. And some of my friends have been in that band.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but the guy, I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a fucking rapist. Like, you know, there's a movie about him being a rapist. So I was like, no, I'll have to pass. This is hard.
So I'm sure they could figure that out by now.
Sure, figure it out.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I don't think I'm poor, you know, or I'm broke. I don't think that opportunity is gonna come. They're like, you know, and I felt weird. Also, like, I was thinking about how you said you would like tell people like really why you couldn't do it, and I had to have this conversation not with that person, but with their like producer, and I was like, trying to be like, no, I'm just not available, or like, do I just say, and I just said it. I was like, yeah, this is exactly why I can't do this.
Yeah.
I was gonna I said I was just gonna be like, I'm not available, but fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people should be held accountable for stuff.
I agree.
So yeah, the realm of who we get to work with is always pretty rad, and not to bring up the grunge stuff, but like Eddie Vedder's fucking rad, man. He's such a cool dude. I mean, I can't stand his band, but him as a lyricist and a performer and stuff, I think he's spot on. And he's obviously, you could see the nuggets of weird. You're like, oh, I get it. He likes heroin. Like he likes, you know, he was like listening to heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird how that works. I don't know. So what's next for you then?
Four more shows with these guys, and I am starting just at the very beginning of trying to finish this. Trying to start another drum record. I'm trying to
So the one that you talked about, another
like
one,
a second one
with other drummers, are the same.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth with like, maybe it's just a bunch of drummers, or maybe it's always going to be me and Cody and Dale for a few time, or what. I don't know. I'd like the idea. I don't not want to play with them. That's the rub, because I kind of just want to do it with them again.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of me and two other drummers.
Bouncing
Always
out,
do
yeah.
it.
If I had some more frequency or cadence with it, I might do that.
I'm so
anyway,
excited.
So that's that, and then more Ruinous stuff.
Yeah.
And
Who released your drum record?
Joyful Noise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, good label.
That's so rad. I have to look into that, man.
I'll send you one when I get home.
I would absolutely love that.
It's cool. I'm proud of it.
I would.
There's a little 7-inch package too. I think I still have those.
Okay. So, who would the drummers be if you were? I mean, we're not dissing Cody and Dale, but
No.
who's on your list? You know, let's put it out in the universe.
I want to do it with Glenn Kochi from Wilco,
Whoa. Okay.
but he might be out of my league. He's a friend of mine, but he's like a super drummer, super drum percussive composer, crazy. Have you seen his stuff ever?
Yeah. But why would that's so weird? I feel like I feel like a drummer that's like that would be like, oh yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah, I think he would do it. I mean, he's already kind of done largely percussive records, but Glenn would be someone I would want to do it with. Who else? I mean, I kind of want to do it with Kyle Crane actually played a little bit on the last one, but I would like to get him more on
Who's
this
that?
one. He's just he plays with like all kinds of people. He's just like a super drummer.
Yeah.
Good vibe. And then Mark Juliana, this kind of jazzer guy in LA. He's from Jersey. He plays in St. Vincent. That's sort of his straight job.
Okay.
But his drumming is incredible.
Yeah. I am like I have been so into like your idea that you're, but not knowing that you did that. But I wanted to put out, well, like because before Dave Lombardo released his, I was like, we should just do like a drum battle record or something. I don't know, like just feature just drums only. And then Dave did it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then we had this idea of trying to like get Dave to like pick drummers and like produce their solo record or whatever. Because I don't think anyone like most. I was talking to Scott from Def Club basically about Planet B, but like he was like, oh, I wouldn't even know how to approach it. You know, I think now I think it's in his brain and he like is trying to write other instruments and stuff. Yeah. But I think he was like, how do you add to the beats? And when you listen to Dave's record, I think initially when you're like, oh, a solo record, it's just like him doing the Slayer beat or whatever. Right, and you're like, you hear it and you're like, this sounds like a film score or something. It sounds
does.
so
That's
wild. Yeah,
very much so. Yeah.
So I was like approaching it in like a really creative way, and so I hope you do it in whatever capacity you do, because those are the best.
I'll do it. I just need the time.
Of course.
Yeah. And I'm also trying to get this a covers record together. I have, or more like 10 songs. Is that a record? EP?
Yeah.
And I actually, there's what's that really popular Gautier song? Somebody I Used to Know. Mm-hmm. I want me and Paul to do that one.
Whoa.
Because there's a part in it, or there's a texture in it that reminds me of Amore de Tropico that Paul produced, the Black Heart record. And every time I hear it, I'm like, that reminds me of the era of Black Heart. And then I can see him singing it, and it's sad, and it's so that's he's on the list. He said he would do it. First he said no, but then I think he said yes.
So the covers record would be you.
It's
featuring whoever you want.
Yeah, just playing drums. I've done a Fix song.
Cool. Which one?
One Thing Leads to Another.
Oh yeah, great song.
We did Tell All the Women, Grinder Man song.
Oh, great.
We're not a singer yet. Me and Dan Gallucci recorded that one.
Whoa.
And a Lou Reed song, and we're waiting for Malcolmus to fucking do his part.
Whoa.
Which I think will be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. And then we got some other ones.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you just pick whoever you want. That's so.
Well, I try. It's like pulling teeth, though. I mean, it's like. But I'm just gonna try to. Well, I don't need to talk about it. It's gonna be. Everything's gonna be evenly. I'm paying for everything, and then everything. Profit will be evenly. Unless someone does singing and guitaring, and then they get 2.
Oh, sure,
I get
sure.
1. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever anyone agrees to.
That's cool. I really am a fan of that kind of stuff, like taking music and making it your own, covers. Yeah. Like I put out a few tribute records on 31G, and it's always like bizarre when you're like, what the fuck? These people are covering this thing. Like Bastard Noise doing a Queen cover does not make sense.
You're right.
But that's the most extreme probably. But
that's on the Queen cover record.
Yeah.
Which is called
Dynamite with a Laser Beam.
Am I on that record? Is there a Black Heart song?
No. I wish.
It's so familiar to me.
I wish that Black Heart. I mean, I think I talked to Paul at some point. Yeah, we did a birthday party tribute, and then recently a Cramps one. But I mean, I was always like, I always wanted to do stuff. And Paul's interesting because Black Heart and 3 Mile Pilot were, I think, on Gravity Records.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like not the Smiths, like
Yeah.
next Jump Up or whatever,
Right.
other parallel like thing. Yeah, and I was like, man, this is crazy. Anything Paul does, that doors or that invite is always there for him. That guy is a fucking incredible.
Yeah, he's
person. I would like to maybe ask, who did you replace in Black Heart, and then who replaced you?
Let's see. I mean, it was Mario that I replaced, but I think Jason Crane maybe was sitting in a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember going over to the house, to Paul's house when they were rehearsing, and Jason was playing drums. They just changed the setup a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ultimately it was replacing Mario, and Paul just called me. I think what happened, the first show I played with them was in Portland, and I'd never rehearsed with them. And I drove from Seattle to Portland, and they were driving up, and we just played at Reed College.
Wow.
I just
I mean, you
listened
knew
to it the whole way
yeah,
down,
yeah.
and it was stressful, of
Yeah.
course. So that's how it started.
Yeah.
And then, eventually I moved to LA, and then I was just, I think they just wanted me to, I was available to play. So.
That's cool. I love both Mario and Jason.
Mario's fucking insane
the
drummer.
one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's someone to
Yeah.
call up.
How about Crane and Mario would be a good combo to make a drum record.
Yeah, Jason's so weird. He because I'm like, dude, you play trumpet and you're a drummer. Like, I feel like he just like, who does that? Like,
I think he can do anything.
I know.
Too.
I
think
know.
he'd just be like, oh, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can play the bass. I guess.
And now he's all into like weird cumbia stuff. Like
Is he?
He's so like he's just so diverse. And then again, like you wouldn't if you. I see him. We see him at the yoga studio we go to all the time.
Yeah.
And I just, if I didn't know, like who he was, I would just be like, this is some regular dude. Like there's no, I mean, he's because I was in this band All Leather, and we were like this annoying electro band, something, and we got him to play third drums, and we would just like thought we'd just make it so super fucked, and one show, and yeah, it's just so rad that he would do that, and then you would not expect him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was like one song I'm trying to remember when I'll never forget the way he played. God, now I can't remember the names of the songs. One kind of song everyone knew, a real slow, like repetitive drum beat, but the way he played it in the living room when I was just hanging and watching was like
Jason or Mario?
Jason.
Uh-huh.
I was like, that's the feel, and I just tried to.
Did he have
reach
the
that.
horse mask on, or
Not
did you have to wear that?
No, I never wore it.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Oh, yeah.
horse mask. I was related to that with the mask thing. I was like, dude, that thing looks fucked up, and
It
you have to
does.
play drums with that thing
Yeah.
on. Yeah. Well, I think you're awesome, and I'm so psyched that we're we're orbiting each other's.
Likewise.
world.
I love it,
Yeah.
and thanks for having me.
Of
dude.
course.
I'm psyched.
Of course.
I totally had it I was like wanted to call you like 5 days ago. And be
Yeah.
like, a reminder.
Yeah.
But it was
No, it was in my
yesterday.
calendar.
Oh,
and
it
I
was good.
Yeah, but then we have all this stupid other things going on. So I was like, I don't know. And then you hit me up, and I was like, yes, like this will be great.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
Cool.
I found out yesterday.
Yeah. Sorry.
no, it's great.
Well, thanks. fellas.
Yeah, man. There you have it. Episode 40, Cult and Culture Podcast. We'd like to thank Joe Plummer for being on this episode. That was awesome. We'd also like to thank all of our sponsors.
Earthquaker, Hard Work Coffee. Sorry for talking so slow.
Fender, Diodario.
Yep.
We'd like to thank Becky and Andy.
Always.
Yeah, and you for paying attention. Check out all of our other podcasts, wherever you get them from. I guess a prime source for us would be our YouTube channel, the 31G YouTube channel. Yeah, we just appreciate you paying attention and the support. Thank you.
Cult and Culture is a Ruinous Media podcast, proudly sponsored by Earthquaker Devices, Heartwork Coffee, Fender, and Diodario.
Planet B.